Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RacingBrick. This is the last Speed Champion set from the August 2026 wave, the 77264 Jaguar Project 7 and Land Rover Defender double pack. The front of the box shows the two vehicles, which are quite different from each other to say the least. On the back we get a few more angles along with photos of the real life cars. Let's open the box. The set has 740 pieces, the price is €55 or $60 and it is already available. As usual, you can check the link below for local pricing. Inside the box we get 10 numbered bags, 1 unnumbered bag, 2 manuals and 2 fairly small sticker sheets. These comparison photos in the manuals are useful if you want to decide which LEGO version looks more like the real thing. What the covers don't tell you is which manual actually starts with bag number 1. Well, it's the Jag, so let's start building. Here's the base with one of the axles already in place. 2 wheel arches and some brackets are added, and this is the build after bag 1. This section is attached upside down using clips. These brackets hold a pair of binoculars which work as the exhausts. We are also mounting 2 X heads here, so this is already becoming a surprisingly complex little section. Pay attention to the orientation of these trans-red pieces. They have tiny blue edge prints on them that are very easy to miss. The first stickers are in place, and I think both the blue and the white are slightly brighter than they should be compared to the brick colors. Now we add the seat and a few interior details. You might be wondering why on earth there is a transparent minifigure head sitting next to the driver's seat. Don't worry, that will make sense later. Okay, this is going to sound a bit bizarre, but the combination of pink, red and white pieces here reminds me of flesh, bones or teeth, exactly where the engine is supposed to be. Probably not what Jaguar's engineers had in mind. We get some nice printed details for the grille, plus stickers on these wing elements. And of course, no modern Speed Champions build would be complete without a few strategically placed cleavers. This is a pretty tricky solution for supporting that tile. I'm curious to see how stable that connection will be once everything is finished. Here are some more edge prints that are very easy to overlook. A whole collection of different tiles forms the hood, although some of that pink structure is still visible through the gaps. The headlights are printed, while the striping next to them is stickered. Now the rear wing goes on, followed by the windscreen with a new print color, and finally the wheels. The rims will look familiar if you have built cars like the Toyota Supra or the Ferrari SF90, but this time they come with a new branding, and with that the first car is finished. Interestingly, we only start bag 5 now, which means most of the bags belong to the Defender. Looking at its size, that probably isn't very surprising. The first sticker pieces go on, together with a metallic silver exhaust tip, and we also add a few bars underneath the chassis. Then the entire thing gets covered. It almost feels like building a city vehicle. This rear section is quite interesting. It uses a whole bunch of neck brackets on the transparent elements to visually reduce their size and make them appear more rounded. The entire assembly is then connected to the main structure with Technic pieces. A massive Land Rover sticker covers the rear panel, and we already have some of the cabin details in place. Now we start covering the sides, and this thing already feels surprisingly heavy. More stickers provide the side details, and the windows use some interesting connections. Apparently, this whole section is going to sit at a slight angle. The steering wheel is in, and the seats are completed. I don't think I've ever seen these transparent pieces used like this to create smaller brick-built lights. That's a really clever solution, and this front section is easily the most complex part of the Defender build. We also get these very cool printed light elements in the middle. Unfortunately, the prints themselves aren't all properly centered. More printed pieces appear on the hood, and now it is time to open the final bag. A minifigure snowboard goes here, then we add the roof with some nice little details. There are unfortunately a few more off-center light prints, and the final pieces are the wheels, and we are finished. Here are the two drivers. Both have exclusive torso prints, and the printed helmet is unique as well. And if you were still wondering about the transparent minifigure head in the Project 7, this is what it is for. It works as a little helmet stand. That black visor looks slightly strange for me. So here are the two cars side by side, and the Defender absolutely dwarfs the sports car next to it. If you go back to the reference photo in the instructions, this is supposed to represent a fairly normal Defender, not the monster truck edition. I think the proportions are simply way off. Just look at the size of the minifigure standing next to it. As several of you pointed out under my preview video, the LEGO model actually looks much more like the heavily modified Defender built for the James Bond movie Spectre. Remove the orange accents and the overall proportions are surprisingly similar. Even details such as the curved metal protection plate underneath the tailgate look much closer to that movie version than to the standard Defender shown in the instructions. If we compare it with the other large Speed Champions vehicles, this is also the tallest one so far. I really like the Bronco. That one was oversized as well, but visually it still felt reasonably proportional to me. This one, not so much. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some cool details on the build. I really like the way both the front and rear ends are constructed, and those brick built lights in particular are excellent. The rest of the build wasn't quite as exciting though. The Project 7 actually had more interesting building techniques throughout the model. The complex front end is the obvious highlight there as well, and the internal structure had more tricks and unusual connections along the way. So, is this double pack worth 55 euros or 60 US dollars? I'm not completely convinced. The Project 7 was an interesting build, and the finished model looks pretty decent, but it's also a fairly obscure version of the F-Type convertible. Honestly, I'm not sure how many kids have a Jaguar Project 7 poster on their bedroom wall. Okay, different generation. Let's say I'm not sure how many of them have it as the wallpaper on their phone. The Defender, on the other hand, is a genuine automotive classic, but this extremely beefed up interpretation looks strange to me as a Speed Champions model. So despite those genius brick built lights, I'm not really a fan of the overall proportions. And unfortunately there are some quality issues as well. I was really looking forward to getting these printed light elements because they should be very useful for mocks. But somehow, LEGO still struggles to place a print in the middle of a 1x1 tile. The mixed printed and stickered solution on the front of the Project 7 also creates a visible difference in the shade of white. Considering that the headlights are already printed, I think it would have looked much better if these three neighboring elements had been printed as well. So overall, there are definitely some clever ideas in this double pack, and the Project 7 provided a surprisingly interesting little build. The Defender has some excellent individual details too, especially those lights, but the exaggerated proportions really don't work for me. And at this price point, the inconsistent prints and visible sticker versus print color differences aren't helping either. But that was my opinion about the final August 2026 Speed Champions set. Now I want to hear yours. What do you think about this Jaguar and Land Rover double pack? Do you like the giant Defender? Or would you have preferred something closer to the proportions of the real car? Let's talk about it in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.